The yellow and blue packaging is unmistakable, and Allagash White has helped make the Allagash Brewery the 21st largest craft brew maker in the United States. Allagash claims it gets 100,000 visitors each year, more than what its Portland taproom can handle. So the company officially expanded a few days ago, and with paint still being applied to the walls, that's where David Guilford met the man who started it all. David?
Well, Allagash White is likely the most recognizable beer in Maine, and you can now get it from Citi Field, home of the Mets, to a Surfside shop in San Diego. Founder Rob Tod has added dozens of beers to his lineup alongside the ever-popular White. But since 1995, the brewery's one home has been secluded in a nondescript industrial park in a Portland suburb. Until now. The brewery is staying put, but Allagash just opened a large tasting room at the old Scarborough Downs. I sat down with Rob to talk about how Maine brewing has evolved over the last 30 years and what's on the horizon.
Well, yeah, 30 years, it's an amazing milestone. And I mean, we've been so busy this year. Number one, just keeping up with demand, and number two, building out this new off-site tasting space. When we do step back and think about it, it is an amazing milestone, and you know, the accomplishment is the hard work of 130 people, 130 employees today, and employees over the last 30 years that have made it possible.
I could walk into another brewery today and probably see someone out back wearing a shirt from another brewery. A lot of them will bring you up and talk about you as a source of inspiration, a source of help when they needed it, getting their feet under them. You know, we were tiny when I was getting going. I started alone. After 10 years, I only had 5 employees, so most of the breweries in the state were bigger than we were back then and had more resources than we did. And I remember very clearly David Geary.
Congratulations, David. Very nice looking beer.
Thank you.
So he immediately picked up the phone and said, hey, you know, I'm moving on from this labeler. Why don't you come over and take some parts off it, and we'll have a beer together. The craft breweries that introduced all these unique styles, like a Belgian style wheat beer, like Allagash White, they really were the underdog. It was them against the bigger breweries at the time, and I think they kind of had to stick together to survive. And luckily, that spirit really has continued to thrive.
How do you forecast the future of this industry in our state?
Well, there's no question it's a tough time right now to be in craft beer, and there are a lot of headwinds hitting at the same time. I mean, the industry really is maturing. When I started in the industry, there were probably only 300 or 350 breweries in the country. Now there are nearly 10,000. So there's no question there's a lot of competition out there, and some of the younger generation isn't drinking as much. The economy is putting pressure on people's wallets. You have the THC beverages coming out. You mentioned the tariffs. So there are absolutely a lot of headwinds, but we continue to be just very, very optimistic. And there are signs of that are really supported by data everywhere. I mean, we're having a great year so far. From a sales perspective, we're up in terms of customer visits at our 50 Industrial Way location. I think we're up about 14% versus last year. So I think the brewers who have always focused on doing things well, you know, high quality, a great customer experience when someone visits the brewery, and just disciplined in all aspects of how they run the business, I think they're going to do just fine. But there's no question there's a lot of pressure right now, and probably will be for some time.
How many attempts did you need before you said this is the one on Allagash?
So as I was building the brewery, this is back in 1994 and early 95, I had a little 10-gallon pilot system, and I probably brewed a dozen batches of this beer. And then once I got my equipment built, I brewed 2 batches. And I felt like batch 3, I could get it at least 95% there.
Sounds like the Wild West when you were first starting out with beat up dairy equipment.
It's completely different at the brewery. If you would have taken a tour back in the 90s and saw the equipment we were making beer on versus now, there's a very, very stark difference. And I get asked all the time by employees, how was it in the old days? It must have been great back then, and that must have been so fun in the early days. And I mean, Jason, our brewmaster, was around back then, and I'm like, no, it was terrible back in the old days. I'm a little nostalgic about the old days, but I don't miss the fact that we outgrew some of what we were stuck with back in those days.
The whole industry continues to have a mentality that a rising tide lifts all boats. Mr. Geary was the trailblazer, and Rob Tod is the godfather.
And a super nice guy as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave.